Hey guys, I want to welcome you back to another episode of Pistons Talk Podcast Pregame Show. I am joined by Thomas from Bleav In Nets. Thank you so much for taking the time today, man. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
So, Pistons play the Nets, which should be a good game. You guys are currently rebuilding. Been there, done that. Feel your pain. You guys had a very interesting draft. I know we're talking about your draft, before we did start recording. Is there a player in this draft class that you guys selected that you want to get into? I know you guys drafted several players, even did a sign-in trade for that Carolina wing. Any player that you want to start with?
Yeah, I think that we could start with Yegor Gilman. Obviously, one of their first picks in this draft, and I think that he is the only one that's panning out the way they sort of want him to. I think that everybody else is sort of dealing with their own problems, and there's going to be one other guy that I want to get into before we get off this topic. But we haven't really seen many of them play. I mean, Drake Powell goes down early. Gilman is the one guy who's actually getting minutes, and he's showing his flashes of what he's able to do. And his biggest thing is three-point shooting. And, Jordy got into it with him that he's like, stop shooting threes. We need to see what else you're able to do because teams just know how to guard that at this point. I see him more as a small forward than I do as a point guard. I mean, at 6'8", 6'9", it's tough to be a primary ball handler, and I think that they don't really have that. That's why they went guard heavy in the draft. I think, like I said, he's the one person that I'm very high on coming out of the draft. I think that he needs to pick up his defensive liabilities when it comes to just the Nets in general, who aren't the best defensive team in the world. He shows his flashes. He's a big body. If they are going to start him at the one for the next couple of years, he's able to defend outside on the perimeter way better than majority of the guards are, who are smaller. But the thing is, he just lets people blow by him, and I haven't really seen the defensive flash of being able to help chase somebody down when it comes to, Nick Claxton stepping up in the paint. But like I said, he's the highest pick in the draft for them, and I think that he has shown the most potential, and there's a reason that he's the only guy that wasn't sent down to the Long Island Nets right now.
Yeah, I remember watching the draft, and you guys had those draft picks. I'm like, are they going to try to trade up to get it like a Dylan Harper? Because I was like, there's no way they're keeping all 4 picks, but you guys did. I do a lot of like pre-draft stuff, and I was pretty high on him. I think the one thing about him when I do watch is just his ability to pass and read the floor.
Yeah.
I get a little bit of like Josh Giddey vibes when I watch him a little bit. I see a little bit of flashes there,
Okay.
But I mean, I personally, if you had like a Josh Giddey right now, it'd probably be pretty good for the Nets. But I mean,
yeah, that's all they need. I think that he lacks confidence too, right? And I was talking about it with a couple of my buddies, and you look at how Dylan Harper is, and Dylan Harper's on another level, right? And it's unfortunate that he went down, but his confidence is so high that he came out firing. Every game he's not scared to take a shot, and you see Gilman come in, and I think that, like I said, with the rotational awkwardness that Jordy Fernandez has right now, it seems that he's almost scared to shoot more just because he doesn't want to be pulled out of the rotation, which is what has happened in the last couple of games, just because there's no definite idea of what the Nets are doing right now. Like they should have probably traded 3 of the picks, to get 1 or 2 of the guys. But if he shows confidence and he gains that, which is also tough to do on a team with Cam and MPJ, just because they're going to fire just about every shot,
Yeah.
But if he gains that confidence, I think he could be a way better player than what he has been showing in the first few games of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of promise there. Like, I remember when the Pistons drafted Killian Hayes, he had the same problem.
Yeah.
Like, there was all the talent in the world. It was just psychological. It was just all mental. That's a name that I haven't probably said in the better half of 2 years.
Former Net, by the way. I mean, listen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the last Pistons game I went to, it was the Killian Hayes revenge tour, and Pistons fans were booing him at the free throw line, and I was just like, oh man! And then he gets waived like 3 hours later when I get home. I was like, oh my god, man, that NBA is like cold-hearted business. You get the Shams notification.
Yeah,
I was like, oh man.
I don't think that you could ever call it a Killian Hayes revenge tour either. I think it was just a Killian Hayes tour. It's having fun, trying to work his way onto a roster at that point.
So I think he's been like with the Cavs G League team last time.
Yeah. I think he started the. I think he started the beginning of the season where he got waived right before by them, but he was definitely there for summer league, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he just never worked on his game personally. From like talking to reporters like off the record, they're like, yeah, man, like our former general manager Troy Weaver, it's like, hey, work on your shot. He never did,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just the whole thing. Hopefully, it doesn't happen with your guys' draft picks where they actually work on their shot. They work on their confidence.
You got to hope so, you know.
There's I know there's another guy that you did mention that you did want to touch on. I think Ben Saraf.
Yeah, listen, a 26 pick in this draft, and like I said, they sent majority of their guys back to the G League or to the G League, and he's the one guy who, when he was playing, I actually liked the flashes that I did see of him as well. Him and Dioman were sort of competing for that point guard spot, which they don't really have a point guard. You know, like Cam Thomas isn't a point guard; he's a shooting guard, and he's going to be playing with the ball majority of the time. But you sort of see anybody bring up the ball. You see Tyrese Martin bring up the ball. You see Zaire Williams bring up the ball. MPJ has been doing it. But I liked what I saw from Saraf, and his defensive. He was the one guy who I looked at defensively at their guard spot, and I was like, this is great. You know, he's picking up full court just about every single possession, and to see that from a young kid who's trying to prove that he deserves to be there was honestly great in my opinion. The tough thing is when he would shoot, he wasn't hitting any shots, and they need to send him back down to develop his jump shot because you don't want to rush him either. You know, the Nets are going full rebuild, and you'll probably see a trade here and there, which when, you know, it depends on what happens during the season, who comes around, who's on the board. But he needs to develop that jump shot. And when he does, I think he's going to be an awesome weapon for whether it be the Nets or whether they send him to another team because another team thinks they could develop him better. But he was the one guy. Defensively, he was great. Picking up full court is you don't see that from majority of the players in the NBA at this point. I mean, you barely see defense from some players. So for him to show that he wanted to be there, he was picking up whatever guard it was. I was actually excited to see him play against guys like Cade Cunningham and, you know, players by the names of Jalen Brunson, Trae Young, and all those kinds of players. And obviously Trae's out, but you got to see a little bit of it. Trae gets hurt, and then that's it. He cuts out of the rotation after starting a few games. So I think that he has a lot of potential as well. He's another big body. I think he's more of a shooting guard, small forward. But if he's able to guard the point guard and you're able to get a superstar to surround him and Dioman with, and you're able to develop them the right way and not the way that you want them to develop, I think he could also be a monster in this league.
Yeah, you need those glue guys. You need those guys that are picking up like full court. I know I mentioned like Josh Giddey earlier, but you think of a guy like Ayo DeSumo who just picks up full court. Type of just like a graded defender. I haven't watched too many Nets games. I know I watched a lot of summer league games because you guys had our guy Danny Wolf, who a lot of Pistons fans wanted Danny Wolf because he went to Michigan, and I felt so bad for him during the draft because they kept pointing the camera towards him during the draft, and when he did finally get drafted, the guy's just bawling his eyes out because he lost. I mean, like so many people had him in the top 10. I was like, man, I feel bad, man. He lost out on a lot of first round money being like a really
that's the tough thing, man. The contract, you know.
Yeah.
But he's another guy. I think that he's good, and when it comes to like I'm gonna keep going back to it. There's no set plan. There's no identity for the Nets right now, and I think that's the worst thing possible is when you have such a young team, you have to figure out some kind of identity. And I know that it's tough to do that with Cam, with MPJ, who want to take every shot. Zaire wants to build his way into the rotation. But I think that he should be getting minutes with Day'Ron Sharpe. Like if you're going to have Day'Ron Sharpe off the bench and you don't have a legitimate big, why not just let him play? And I know that he has to develop also. Like all these guys have to. I mean, you can't take 5 first rounders and not hit on one of them if you don't develop, you know. But I think that he's a guy who should be getting minutes just because you lack the big man. Like you lack a power forward and a center off the bench. So why not just let him get the minutes? Why not just let the kids play? You know, like everybody in your roster is under 30 years old, and your oldest guy I think is Terrence Mann at 29. And like, what? You're not winning games. Why not just let the kids play then? You're going to play a guy like Noah Clowney, who I think has been atrocious this year. Why not get Danny Wolf in the game? Like you're going to call him up. He's eligible to make his debut. He played like 3 minutes, and it's just like you don't see anything, and then you send him right back down. So I don't understand what direction they want to go in with the 5 first rounders that they have. Obviously, Powell got hurt, so I guess you're at 4 now. But he's a guy who I think should be playing. And you know what? Like I said, or like you said, he was a guy who was potentially going in the top 10, top 15 range, and then you just don't play him. I don't understand it. I'm out on the way Jordy Fernandez is managing the younger crowd right now.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot when the Pistons were in a rebuild and we had a bunch of guys, like we only really played Killian Hayes and Isaiah Stewart and Sadiq Bey, and we had a guy on the bench, Zabin Lee, would
Yeah.
come out and he would just ball out, and then
Yeah.
you send him down to the G League and he's giving you like 30 points a game. I honestly think Danny is actually really unique in the aspect that he can spread the floor. He's got handles. I think the only thing with him that I think you might get concerned with is the turnovers, because he is very turnover prone.
Yeah.
And defensively, I mean, it does need some work. But I mean, if you can have a stretch 4, stretch 5 in your lineup off the bench, why not let him get the reps? And I think that's the one thing a lot of organizations struggle with. It's like they don't really know what direction to go to, because they're projecting like, oh, we want to go get AJ DeBanza, we want to go get a Cameron Boozer, like we want to lose games, but the draft picks that you just drafted, you got to let them get reps and get development, in my opinion.
Yeah, and like, it's seeing the defense could always work, right? Like, and I'm not saying that Danny Wolf is going to be Jokic or like a guy like Şengün, who aren't the best defensive players, but look at how many people have thrived in a position where they're just a stretch 3 who are, they're not even defensive players. Like, a guy immediately came to my mind was Ryan Anderson, right? Like, this guy played his entire career, couldn't play defense, right? He wasn't a good defender, but he was knocking down shots in the corner. So like, why not give him the opportunity? And I get the turnover, like people are turnover prone. But this entire Nets team is turnover prone. There's nobody, like, you don't have anybody with the confidence to dribble the ball and put it on the floor outside of like 3 guys right now. And I think that's a reason they also sent Seraf down. But you're not bringing in Danny Wolf to be a point guard, so why not just give him the opportunity to sit outside? And it's tough because Claxton doesn't shoot too much. So why not play him next to a guy like Claxton? A guy like, Noah Clowney started the other night. He's sitting in the corner anyway, taking threes, or he's sitting at the wing. Why not let Danny Wolf be the guy to do that? And I know that Clowney's also young, but when he's going, 1 for 6 in a game, why not let Wolf be the guy to do that? Let him develop a tiny bit more with this roster.
Yeah, it's definitely frustrating because, like, if you're going to let one young guy, go out there, and it sounds like Noah Clowney hasn't been as productive as you want him to be.
He's been terrible. I think every day I'm questioning why he's in the rotation. So
it must be a coach's favorite. That's the only thing I could think of. I mean, when Monty Williams was here for 1 year, I mean, I'm going to say his name again. We had Killian Hayes starting next to Cade Cunningham, and you had Jaden Ivey on the bench, couldn't get in the rotation. So, I mean, like, I get it. I get the frustration from it. It could just be like a coaching perspective. It could be a front office executive that really likes them. You can just go into conspiracy theories when you're going through a rebuild. Like, I remember going down the conspiracy theories, like, why are we playing Killian Hayes? Like, well, what is going on?
Yeah. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, though, Killian Hayes was like a higher pick, right? Like, he didn't go late. And you look at a guy like Noah Clowney is the 21st pick in the draft.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he's this guy who, I think the thing with like a guy like Killian Hayes is if anybody that's drafted earlier, you want to work out, right? Like, you're going to keep pushing for that guy to be one of the guys that's that good. And I think that's the reason that the Nets aren't sending Yeoman down right now, because he's a guy that went top 10. So you have to push for him to be good, because if not, it's such a hit to your self-esteem that you're just like, oh, like, we just wasted a pick, after, I mean, they wasted 5 of them, it looks like right now, if they're not going to play the guys. But a guy like Hayes is a guy who, you draft him pretty high. You expect him to be better than he is, and you want to keep pushing him to be that, especially because he was on the younger side. Like, Clowney's on the younger side, but this guy's a 21st pick. Like, it's not like he's a top 15 pick where it's like this guy has to work out. You know how many people whiff on those late, like the 20 plus? Like, you're going to find a diamond in the rough here, and I don't think the Nets have found that. And I think that's what they don't want to let go of, is this guy's not the diamond in the rough. He's not the guy who's going to be 20 plus, who's going to come out and be a great pick for you guys. He's a guy who's okay. He hustles, he plays a little bit of defense, but if you put him on a contender, he's probably not touching the court ever, right? Like, it's like those kinds of guys where it's just like, all right, if he wouldn't play on a contender, maybe we just shouldn't play him right now. We have a younger guy who can come up and step up into that role.
Yeah, I mean, those are the conversations you have to have. Like, how many teams would he actually be in the rotation with?
Yeah.
Because, like, when you're going through a rebuild, like, he would not even be like the 12th man on a team.
Maybe you have like the certain teams that stand out where a guy gets hurt or something, or like maybe like the Bulls. But I don't even know if he would get minutes on the Bulls. Like, I think that if it comes to that situation, I'm the Bulls coach. I'm playing Jalen Smith over him. So it's like, you could probably break down a couple real contenders and find 4 to 6 teams that he would get minutes on. But it's also like you haven't seen him with a team that's legitimately good. Like, that's the other tough thing. It's like you haven't seen him with a guy like Şengün. You haven't seen him with a guy like Embiid. You haven't seen him with a guy like Giannis. So I guess that's the argument you could make. But when you see him with a guy like Cam Thomas, he's not playing well. So why are you continuing to play him? And then why are you starting him when MPJ is not playing?
Yeah, I mean it's just a whole situation where like I can actually feel the pain in your voice, and I remember having these same conversations for like the last like 4 years, like during the rebuild. Like we traded for James Wiseman and we traded Sadiq Bey. I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
Like
yeah. I actually
nothing
like
against,
that a lot,
nothing against James Wiseman. I was like we got Marvin Bagley, we have James Wiseman. Like what are we doing,
Yeah,
guys?
it's funny that going back to, I think that was a team of just like, oh, these guys were all supposed to be really good. Let's try to make them good again. Like Bagley was a guy who actually watching him in college, I got to see him play St. John's when he was at Duke. Him and Wendell Carter were like the dynamic duo I've never seen before in college, and he was dominating. I thought he was going to come out. Same thing with Wiseman. I thought he was going to come out and be, the pick that he was. The second, third, fourth, fifth pick, and it just never turned out. I think that's where the Pistons went. Was just like, oh, these guys were supposed to be really good. Let's see if we can make them really good.
Yeah, I mean, we tried to have so many reclamation projects. Like we tried the Josh Jackson experience. We tried the Dennis Smith Jr. experience, trading Derrick Rose to the Knicks. I mean, like it was just like, let's just try former lottery picks and see if one of them actually pans out.
Yeah, one of them has to hit, right?
No, none of them. Oh man, it's like dark times, man. I don't even know why I even brought that up. It's probably still etched in my memory. Like watching how bad they were. You guys actually had a pretty active offseason. Traded Cameron Johnson, who was actually one of my favorite players, like low-key. I've actually wanted the Pistons to sign him, but traded him to the Nuggets for Michael Porter Jr. in a future first. So what did you like about that trade from the Nets perspective?
Well, I think that MPJ is a very good player, right? And he another guy who was projected to be the number one pick outside of some back issues and surgeries, which was tough. And the Nuggets scored with him when it came to him getting drafted, right? He's been an amazing player. I think he's a career 17 points per game player. When he is healthy, he is a monster, right? Like he takes a lot of shots, and that's the tough thing. But when he's surrounded by somebody who can get him open, which is tough right now because the Nets don't have that, he looks great. But you look at what this trade has looked like so far, and I think that everybody went into this trade going, oh, Cam Johnson's going to be this monster for the Nuggets, and he's going to push them to the next level. And we've sort of seen the opposite. Not that MPJ is pushing the Nets to the next level. They haven't won a game yet. But if him and Cam Thomas work out, they are honest. They're probably like, they might have 3 wins right now. It's them losing certain quarters because one of them goes 9 for 19 or one of them goes, like 12 for 16. And it never happens on the same game. You'll never have them two really going off on the same game. But I think that he's expanding his game, and the role that he's taking has been great. You look at, he's leading the team in assists, and I don't think it's high. I believe it's in the 4 to 6 range, but he's leading the team in assists, and that's something we haven't seen. We see him handling the ball a lot more. Even during the preseason, you saw him being more of a ball handler, being more of a playmaker, which is something he never really got the experience to do. And I know that he had his whole the podcast moments in the offseason. But listen, it brings entertainment to the Nets. You have something to talk about, right? Like outside the draft, it was like, wow, why would we trade Cam Johnson for a guy that's just going to chuck up a bunch of shots? The only hit that it takes for the Nets is that he's going to, he takes up way too much of the salary cap. And that's how it was. There's the reason the Nuggets got rid of him was because with a guy like him, the superstar balance it's tough because you can bring one other guy in, but then it's just him, one other superstar, and a bunch of just role players around him. And unless you have the right superstar with him, like I said, Jokic is a perfect guy for him. He just sets him up in the corner. But I also like what he's doing. He's also on the younger side. He's a lot younger than Cam Johnson. So he still has time to develop in this role, right? If you're able to go get a lottery pick, which the Nets should have, or should get one this year, if you're able to get a lottery pick that works out with him, you're in a better situation than you have been in the last 3 years, right? And I know they were a playoff team a couple of years ago, but I just think that MPJ is currently working out. Sure, he has his games where he's not going to shoot great. It's just going to happen on bad teams. But like I said, he's a playmaker now too. He's finishing at the rim. He's getting his open shots. He's hitting shots on the dribble, or off the dribble rather. And that's something that we haven't seen from him if you go back and watch the film with him in the Nuggets. He's a guy who just stood in the corner, maybe pump fake one dribble, step back 3. But now he's taking Kevin Durant corner pull-ups, like things that we've never seen from him. And a 6'10" guy who can handle the ball, play make a little bit, and shoot lights out. I think it's a massive W for the Nets in that regard. And I think that, like I said, if they get a couple guys around him and they maybe develop him a little bit more defensively, he's fine. The guy grabs rebounds, shoots the ball well. All you need is a guy who can really play make around him and maybe allow him to play make a little bit more too.
Yeah, I was always really high on him coming out of the draft. Obviously, he had all the back surgery, so he did slip to the Nuggets. But I never really questioned the talent, never really questioned the shot making ability. Like low key, he is actually a really good passer.
Yeah.
Right now he's just being asked to be that number one, number two
Yeah,
option.
100%.
But like you mentioned, like if you have a point guard, and I know it's probably a sore subject, but you have a guard to set him up where he doesn't have to initiate everything, where he has to be on ball. If he can play a little bit more off ball, I think that's what you saw out of him in Denver, where he thrived, where he got to play off ball, getting dimes from Murray or Nikola Jokic or even Aaron Gordon to an extent, where he's playing off ball, more of a second or a third option and playing off ball. That's where he thrives. That's where he can get you those 30-point games and he's shooting like 6 out of 7 from 3. But low key, man, I have him in my fantasy team and he's been cooking. So I'm not even mad.
Listen, the one thing, like, it's, I just pulled the stats up because I wasn't exactly sure his percentages. He's shooting 33% from 3, which is the lowest that he's shot throughout his career so far. But he's also averaging 20 and 8. Like, those are they're not superstar numbers, but that's second option numbers. There are second options out there that can help you out or that are averaging 20 and 8. And if you're able to, like I said, find a superstar to be around him and continue to have him work with Nick Claxton, you're in a good spot, right? Like, you're in a way better spot. I just don't think that Cam Thomas is the superstar that needs to be next to him. I think that there needs to be a superstar that could pass, that could shoot. I think Trae Young would be great. I know that the defensive liabilities are very heavy there, but a guy of that caliber that could also play a little bit defense would be awesome with MPJ and Claxton together. And not to mention, like you said, you get the first round pick with it. Denver had to cough up a first round pick, which is great because they didn't have many to give. So now you're getting the younger guy who's looked way better this year, and you're getting another future first round pick that hopefully you don't whiff on, and you're actually able to bring in another player that helps the Nets out in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the process of it, obviously, losing Cam Johnson, I thought was kind of a sting, but once more of the details came out, you're getting a guy that's younger that can score at all 3 levels, and you get a future first. You never really know what that first could turn into. It could turn into possibly a lotto pick. It could turn into something that you use in a trade. Because I think there will be some teams that possibly call for Michael Porter Jr. at this deadline. Yeah. I would not be surprised, man. I mean, like, especially when you're going through rebuilds, a lot of these teams are looking to make like that second half push after like post trade deadline. They're looking for that secondary option. I know he makes a little bit more than probably a lot of these like playoff teams probably want, but that's the price you do have to pay.
Maybe that's the tough thing because like it just doesn't always work out financially with certain teams. I mean, I believe he's in like the 40 million range or a little bit over that. So it would need to be a team that has the cap hit, or if they're able to give up, 2 guys who make too much money, and they want to throw in a bunch of picks, and that's want to go ahead and take that, then go ahead and take that and go full rebuild.
Yeah, I mean, you never really know. I mean, there could be teams that, it's a weakened Eastern Conference right now. They feel that they have a good opportunity or a good window to, make it out of the first round. Maybe the Nets could get more picks out of a Michael Porter Jr. trade. You never really know down the line. One guy you did touch on was Cam Thomas. I felt like a lot of restricted free agents this year. I've never seen it like so crazy where like these deals didn't get done. It seemed like until like maybe like 2 or 3 weeks until the season started. What was kind of like your overall thoughts with him just signing the 1-year deal?
Well, Cam's a guy I like, right? And I don't think that I don't want to say takes this team to the next level because he does, right? The games that he goes off, they're usually better. The tough thing is recently, at least, he hasn't been able to finish in the clutch. His assist numbers aren't there. And it's a weird situation because Jordy sort of wants him to play a different game. Like he wants to take the mid-range, but then you hear that Jordy wants him to take more threes, and you see him taking step-back threes rather than just taking the mid-range he should take. But I expected it to happen, right? Like you see the same thing with Quentin Grimes. If this was 2 or 3 off seasons ago and the free agency class wasn't as stacked up, you probably see them get a better deal, right? Like they probably get the deal that they want. You look at like this free agency class, like Russ signs late, Precious Achiuwa just signed to a team. There's still guys out in the free agency class who can make move. A team can make a move and they could help them out. Like Alec Burks is still out there. Bull is still out there. Like I know these guys aren't the level of Cam Thomas, but the class was so stacked up that everybody got who they wanted right away. You bring those people out on the extensions, and it seemed like the Nets, why are you going to extend him for the amount that he wants? What has he contributed to the Nets last couple of years outside of some scoring, right? Like, I think that you draft all 5 players because there's a reason for you to do that. And the reason is because you're probably moving on from some of your players this upcoming year, right? And it seems that Cam seems to be that guy right now where it's like, listen, we're going to get you take the restricted, take the offer that we have on the table, develop into the player we want you to be, or that's it. Like, maybe they move him at the deadline in a team that, for a team that wants to extend him. Or maybe they just let him walk in the upcoming year. But I think that it's more of, okay, we want you to be this player. And if you can't be that, there's no reason for us to bring you in anyway. And I think that was a big thing, especially with getting MPJ, where you're like, okay, you know what, Cam? You want this money? You don't want to develop into our player? We'll go get another big name guy who can be this exact same player that you are, just better, right? And like, I think that Cam's averaging more points per game right now, which is fine. But I also believe in the 1 assist per game mark. When you have a guy like MPJ who's putting up 28 and I think 4, I would rather have that on my team too. If you're going to offer me a 28-4 player or a 32-1 player, I'm going to take the 28-4 player who can just do more, is a bigger body. And like, the other thing with Cam is like, he just doesn't hustle, right? The defensive rebounds that he could have grabbed the last couple of games that he just doesn't go after. You just need to see more effort. And it just seems like he doesn't care. Now, do I think that he's a bad player? Of course not. I think he's a great player, but I think that he's a better player for a team that needs a bench scorer, right? And I said to you earlier, I think that he's a young Jordan Clarkson type of player. He is a 6th man on a championship team. He's a guy who you bring in when you need somebody to come in and score for you. And he can play 20 minutes a game. It's not like he needs to be on a restricted minute count where he's at 11 to 15 minutes, but he's a great guy that right now he's cheap. If a team wants to make a push for a year and they want to throw 1 or 2 draft picks at the Nets, I don't see why the Nets don't do it, right? Like, I think that he's a guy, comes in 15, 20 minutes a game, and he's still putting up 16 points, right? And I think that he's that spark that certain teams need. Like you said, weaker Eastern Conference. The Nets don't care. They're not competing right now. They want the draft picks. They want to rebuild. If they're able to get one other younger player who they think is worth it and some draft picks for him, then there you go. That's what you get for him. He's an inexpensive player right now, and it makes it easier for other Eastern Conference teams to throw offers at the Nets and say, listen, we can still compete. We might be negative. We might be a 10 seed, but that means we're in the play-in. So we get a guy like Cam who can put up 20 points for us or 16 points for us. Now we're making that step in the play-in. So I understood it. I didn't see him taking this huge deal. I didn't see the Nets giving him a huge deal, rather. But I understood why he expected so much money, just because other players are getting those contracts. Look at the Christian Brown extension, obviously rookie. Yeah. But you get these guys who are getting those kinds of contracts. So I understood why he wanted it. Dyson Daniels is also in that conversation. But a guy like Dyson Daniels is giving you more of an effort, one of the best defensive guards in the league. So until Cam really shows that he could be that defensive guard, or a guard who's going to be able to grab 6 rebounds for you, or not shoot on random nights a 9 for 29, then I don't see why they extend him.
Yeah, I could understand it from that standpoint, just because like the one skill that he does have that's elite is scoring.
Yeah.
But I mean, I remember him getting in a back and forth. I don't know. You probably saw it this summer with Kevin O'Connor saying he just doesn't pass. He's not
never.
He's gotten like progressively worse in like playmaking, and like he took exception to that. And I think it's kind of a prove it year. Like, prove that you're actually
100%.
prove that you're actually worth the money that you want. Yeah. And if he doesn't do that, maybe you can flip him at the deadline for a team that does need more bench scoring, for a team that's looking to, increase their bench. The one thing about him that I've always liked is just the isolation scoring. I think he's really talented at it. But outside of that, if the shot's not going, it's like, what is he actually doing for your basketball team? Yeah.
No, and I think that he has certain points of his game. The one thing I will always give him credit for is he comes off of screens. Like, the way he tightens up a screen is really insane, right? Like, if Nick Claxton sets him a screen, how tight he is to that screen is truly amazing, because he always gets the defender on his back hip, which then leads to fouls or maybe a lob here and there. But the thing, like you said, if you can't be a playmaker, if you're going to hold the ball majority of the game and every single shot is going to you, Claxton, or MPJ, you have to be in that 4 assists per game range, right? Like, that the defender's going to come at you. Why are you taking a turnaround fadeaway mid-range when you have another defender stepping up and you have Claxton right there wide open? Like, and it is tough, just because, like I said, you have a guy like Noah Clowney out there. Sorry, Noah Clowney. But you have a guy like Noah Clowney out there. But if your teammates can't shoot, I also don't really blame him for not really passing the ball that much when it comes to those situations. Like if you have these guys who are standing out on the key, whether it be Jalen Wilson, Clowney, Day'Ron Sharp, and they're not going to hit the threes, why pass, right? You know that you can make it. You know that you could score. You're a bucket getter. So then why pass in those kinds of moments? But like I said, you have to pass the ball. You have to be at least 3 assists per game. Be near MPJ. MPJ is the one guy who gets bashed for only being able to shoot, and he's averaging more assists than you, and he's a small forward power forward combo. So like you said, it's a prove it year, 100%. And if you can't prove that you can be more of a point guard for this team, I don't see why there is need for you during this rebuilding process.
It'll be interesting to see what happens at the February trade deadline, if he's still in the Nets or not. But I definitely will be keeping my eye out there because I can definitely see some Western Conference team and some Eastern Conference teams looking at that $7 million because that's a value contract. And then we're just trade for him and not extend him. So like, hey, we just traded for you to, try to compete for the playoffs. Good luck in free agency type of shit.
Yeah, listen, who knows? Like, maybe a team like Denver makes the contracts work out, or like a guy like Zeke Naji and Julian Strawther. Strawther, guy I've loved since he got drafted. They work that out contractually and send over if they even have another pick to send over, and you're able to get a guy like that to come off the bench and score for you, and then you're really in the push for the playoffs. And you look at a team like the Thunder right now, who are so deep that these Western Conference teams need a guy like that. You need a guy that's going to come out and be able to deal with a guy like Caruso when it comes to isolation scoring. So, yeah, I think that, like you said, the contract is great. Everybody's going to send. And the thing that helps out the Nets is because if, he's on such a low contract when it comes to his money, if a team wants to send players, it's going to have to be either a younger player or a vet. And what do? You either let that vet walk or you develop that younger player and you get picks with them. Like if you're able to basically scam a team out of giving you one vet and 3 first-round picks, whether they be protected or, whatever the case may be, pick swaps, whatever it may be. If you're able to get those picks with a vet that you're going to let walk in the next year, then so be it. Like Cam's walking anyway. I don't think that there's no doubt in my mind that they're going to sign him back, or they're not going to sign him back. They're going to let him walk. If they wanted him back, they would have given him the contract this past year. And I think that's just the main point. It's like, boom, okay, Cam, you're with us. We want you. Come back. It's like, I don't think that he's proven to be what the Nets want right now. Like there's so many different, I don't think that they would be testing all these lineups if they knew that Cam was the guy they wanted. I think they would stick with their set 5, let the guys develop around him because they want to build around him. And the fact that they're changing their lineup so much makes me believe that they don't want to build around him right now. I think it's more of a who can work with who and who can't work with who.
Trading to Utah, they got a bunch of guards you guys could have. Personally, Utah's got a plethora of just young talent that, like, if I was a Nets fan, I'd be looking at Utah because they have a lot of intriguing forwards, guards that they're not playing right now. Even though you guys drafted a crap load of guards, like I really like what Utah's drafted over the past couple of years. One more topic. So, what are expectations with the Nets this year? Is it trying to secure a top 5 pick? I would assume, like in your eyes, what do you think expectations would be?
Yeah, I think that it's 100%. You're going for the top 5 pick, but I also think that the Nets are in a better situation than people think. Right? If you were able to, if you were going ahead and watching all the Nets games, which I don't blame people for not doing, they lose 1/4 of the game and that's it. And it's not like a little quarter where they lose by 6 or they cut the lead to 5 and the team pulls away by 10. They're losing quarters by 15 to 20 points, right? So they show that they have this ability to score on teams and this ability to go on runs. You know how many games they've come out and they started the game on like a 13-3 run or a 12-0 run or a 15-6 run, and then they just blow 1/4 by 20. So they're in a good position when it comes to their scoring. Their defense needs work, but I also think that come the deadline, Cam's the guy that we just threw out there. Terrence Mann's going to get traded to a team that needs a vet to really compete. I think there's no reason for them to keep him. He's 29 years old unless you want to because you think in a year or two that you'll be contenders. But I think right now you're going to match MPJ with a superstar. You're going to try to keep Claxton as long as you can. I think that he's a good player. Try to develop him a little bit more because I think that I want to see a little bit more mid-range shooting from him. But you're in a good place. Haywood Highsmith, another guy who it's either trade or let him walk because he's on a 1-year deal. But then you have so much draft capital, and like I said, everybody on the roster that's playing right now is under 30 years old. Move a couple of them, right? You want to be in a position where you're going to be in a playoff team in a weaker East in 2 years. Why not throw a haul at a team like the Utah Jazz and get Lauri Markkanen?
Ooh.
Why not? Right?
Ooh.
You have these guys who you drafted to be guards, and you have 5 picks from this past year. Why not go ahead, get Lauri, match him? I know the contract thing would have to work out where you're probably sending Claxton over there, but why not try to get Lauri, match him with MPJ? Now you have 2 small forward power forwards who are 6'10" to 7 foot who can both stretch the floor. That's a dangerous position to be in if you're going to keep a guy like Dillman or a guy like Saraf. And now you got a 6'8" point guard with 2 6'10", 6'10" small forward power forwards that can stretch the floor. So why not go ahead, throw some picks, throw guys like Terrence Mann. The Jazz aren't competing right now. They know that. Lauri's off to a hot start, but they were in talks to trade Walker Kessler this offseason, right? I think they said that they didn't want to extend him also. So my expectations for this Nets team are they're not high when it comes to the record. And I think that's pretty blatant, no team is expecting the Nets to, or nobody is expecting the Nets to be a 40-win, 30-win team. They might be in the teens when it comes to wins. They're going to be one of the worst teams that we've seen in a while. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that because you have pieces to move, you have draft capital, and you have young talent, right? You have these guys who you can package a bunch of them together, and it's going to probably take one of the stars on your team when it comes to MPJ, Cam, or Claxton to go ahead and move in a package to get a guy like Lauri. Or, I was going through Twitter today. I was in the Nets community, and somebody said, why not go ahead and throw an offer at Zion? And it made me think, why not go ahead and try to get Ja Morant, right? That package would be crazy too. But you're going to move on from these guys eventually anyway. Any team that drafts all these guys who are in their 20s, you're not holding on to every single one of them. That's the name of the game, right? You're going to build these guys, you're going to haul them up, and you're going to throw them away for some superstars. And we've seen the Nets try to do it before. So why do we saw with the Boston trade. They go ahead. This is obviously years ago, different GM and everything. But you're trying to get superstars at that point. You get KG, Paul Pierce, but it's the name of the game. You have so much capital, and my expectations are high when it comes to what they should do at the deadline. I think that they should move just about whatever they can and either load up on picks and maybe try to go ahead and grab another lottery pick for this upcoming year, or you just let it ride out. If you let it ride out, I think that's the worst position that you really could be in as a Nets fan. I think that this is a season where you don't want to let it ride out. I think that you want to get rid of not as many guys, but a handful of guys in this roster, not because they aren't good, just because you can trade them now. And who knows if one of these guys, who knows what happens if Terrence Mann goes on a downhill slope second half of the year and now he sucks and then you can't get anything for him. So my expectations are high when it comes to what they should do at the deadline, not what their record is going to be.
I can't say I'm really surprised by that because kind of been there, done that. I remember we had the worst record in the NBA for several years. We got shafted 5th, 3 straight years. A lot of Pistons fans wanted Victor. A lot of Pistons fans wanted Paolo Banchero. We were fortunate to get Cade Cunningham, and he's kind of been our franchise player. Have you looked at the 2026 NBA draft picks as of what?
Not too much. I was doing my a little bit of homework on just the lottery, the 3 top guys right now, because as somebody who covers the Nets, it's hard not to look at the top 3.
Yeah.
Right. I should not be looking anywhere outside of 1, 2, and 3, just because the Nets should be nowhere outside of that right now. They're the worst team in the NBA record wise right now. They're a team that just can't figure it out, which means that they're going to land with either Booz or Dybonsa, or I'm whiffing on the other guy's name right now, but Peterson. And I was actually, like I said, I was going through Twitter today, and people are comparing Peterson to Kobe. And it's tough to do that. Kobe's one of the best players to ever play. The thing that's, it's funny talking to a Pistons fan where you guys saw the rebuild, you guys didn't you whiffed early on some picks, but the other guys that you guys brought in have been amazing, right? You bring in Cade, who's just been that guy. And I think that he's a top 3 point guard in the league, if you ask me right now. If not top 3, he's probably top 5. He's a guy who's great. You have a guy like Ron Holland. You have Jaden Ivey. You have Jalen Duren. You guys didn't whiff on these picks, so it's tough to sit here and talk about it when the Nets have whiffed on picks. And it just seems like the way they're going this year, they might have whiffed on 5 of them. There's none of them have shown the flashes of being that good. I think that Dillman's gonna be good, and I think that Wolf and Saraf could be good, but there's nobody that shows the potential of a guy obviously Cade, or even a guy like Duren right now. Claxton's the last guy that the Nets brought in that I'm like, okay, he's something, this guy's really good that they're gonna hold on to for a little bit.
Yeah, I will say our previous general manager, Troy Weaver, who's now in New Orleans, another team that's winless right now.
Yeah.
Um, he did a really good job at identifying talent. Obviously, he did whiff on the Killian Hayes draft, but
Yeah.
he traded Trevor Ariza to get Isaiah Stewart, who just had a career high last night. He had
Yeah.
26
A
and
good
14.
player, a good player.
I know. He's coming off our bench, and he got inserted into the starting lineup because Tobias Harris was injured. I mean, he drafted Sadiq Bey, who is still in the league. He's still with the Pelicans. He's a bucket. You know,
Yeah, injuries, man. Injuries hurt him so bad. Another player I love. I love his jumper. I think he has one of the most fluid jumpers. And when he was over with the Hawks, I thought that he was going to be a problem with them. And like I said, if he stayed healthy, you'd have been awesome. But another guy that was good for you guys.
yeah. I mean, we had Cade, obviously. The outside of Cade's draft, like we got guys like Luka Garza, who's with the Celtics.
Yeah.
Other like European guys that just never made it. I mean, we whiffed on a lot of second round picks. I'm not even gonna lie to you. That didn't even see the light of day in the NBA. But I mean, like, you're fortunate to draft Jaden Ivey at 5. I didn't think he was gonna be there at 5. You trade up for Jalen Duren with the New York Knicks, and in 24, you get a Star Thompson, who we haven't even talked about on this podcast. Who's, in my opinion, like, he's probably going to be one of the better perimeter defenders, if not like in the top 100%. 5 conversations. And I think why the Pistons rebuild went the way it did is because they identified what they want to be as a basketball team. Yeah. Like, they want to be a defensive, just smash mouth, like in your face type of basketball team, and that's what JB Bickerstaff has kind of like instilled them to be. I think with the Nets, like, from my perspective, looking at the draft, I was like, okay, that's a lot of guards.
Yeah,
like,
they're just hoping that one of them works out,
Yeah,
like, it was just like, okay, let's just take as many as we can to hope that one's there that's good enough to be there. And I think that's what I'm saying. They're banking on Gilman to be that guy. Like I said, he shows flashes, but they're just banking that he is that guy, and if he's not, they're in a very weird position.
Yeah, it's just like, I remember growing up as a kid watching like the New Jersey Nets with like Kerry Kittles and Jason Kidd, and like that type of identity to me is like what I think about when I think about the Nets. Like, up tempo, had some dogs defensively, like Kenyon Martin. Like, you guys had some dogs like back in the day, and like, obviously you've built super teams where I kind of thought you got shafted during the COVID year with the Kyrie stuff and stuff like that. But I mean, like, I can't really tell you, like, what's a Brooklyn Nets identity.
I wish I could answer the question, and I think that's all I've said. If you go to Bleav In Nets and go watch, I think that all I'm saying is that the Nets have yet to find one, right? Like, the attempted, like I said, the attempted rebuild with KG, Paul Pierce. You're bringing in a bunch of vets because you want to be that gritty veteran team, and it didn't work out. Right? Like, there was nothing about that team where it's just like, okay, and it's tough because Deron Williams just sort of fell off. Then you look at the KD, Kyrie, Harden team. I think that everybody could have told you that team wasn't going to work out. Like, you can't have 3 ball-dominant guys that's just going to work out. Like, you try to build a super team like the Warriors, which obviously Kevin Durant was a part of, but it was different when you have a guy like Clay who doesn't need to touch the ball. When he does, the ball's going. Like, it just every shot goes in. And Draymond was a defensive monster. Like, the Nets don't have a real identity. Even right now, you can't sit here and look at the Nets and go, oh yeah, their identity is this. It's a bunch of shot chucking guys who are just hoping that one day they win a game by hitting a turnaround 3. Like, go watch any Nets game this year that was close when it came to like the last 7 minutes of the fourth quarter. Go back and watch the Spurs game, right? Great game to watch. I was jumping out of I'm jumping out of my seat thinking that they're about to beat Wembanyama. And you go ahead, I think it was a 4-point game. You miss a 3, you get an offensive rebound, and you miss another 3. Like the Nets don't have this identity. It's just like, everybody wants to shoot, right? It's like playing on a high school basketball team. Everybody wants to shoot the ball. That's what it is. Like, except for Nick Claxton, who wants to get to the paint every possession. Day'Ron Sharpe is shooting 3s. If Day'Ron Sharpe got drafted, do you think you would sit here and go, wow, Day'Ron Sharpe, 3-point shooter? No, you wouldn't, right? Like, it's like, so the identity of this team right now is a bunch of shot chuckers in the most respectful way possible. Right, like you have guys like Cam, you have a guy like MPJ who are trying to get their shots. Zaire Williams, I'm a huge fan of Zaire Williams, but even he should be taking 6 threes a game. There's no real identity for this Nets team right now, and I think like you could tell that there wasn't in the draft, because if there was, you probably go get a defensive anchor. You probably go get, which I'm surprised they didn't get a backup center, because I don't think that Day'Ron is all that, right? Like, in this matchup, I was the one key I was a little excited to watch is Isaiah Stewart versus Day'Ron, just because they're both like grittier backup centers, smaller guys. But then again, I'm watching Day'Ron Sharpe throughout the first 7 games, and he's shooting threes. Go attack the rim. You were 250 pounds. Go play down low. Do something use your weight to your advantage. Like I was expecting coming to the year, thinking of matchups when it comes to a guy like Day'Ron. It's like, okay, Isaiah Stewart and him are probably gonna pound each other down low, right? Like they're just gonna body each other, throw body, like it's gonna be aggressive. And Isaiah Stewart's shooting threes too. But the thing is, Isaiah Stewart could hit them. Day'Ron hasn't hit them, like. So like I said, there's no real true identity of this team right now. And I hope they figure it out. Like I hope that they're able to trade for somebody that figures it out. But like I said, in this draft, when you go guard heavy, you're proving to people that there's no real identity, and it's like hoping that one of these guards does work out for this team.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I remember when we had our rebuild, like we didn't have the luxury of actually trading like players away. Like we started our rebuild trading Andre Drummond for Brandon Knight and John Henson in a second round pick.
Yeah.
Like we had to start from ground zero. At least you guys do have draft picks.
Yeah.
You have some young players that you're hopeful that can turn into something. If not, you can kind of just package players and maybe just kind of build a semi-competitive team in the East. Or maybe you just say, hey, Giannis, come on over. You never know.
Throw everything at him, like, listen, he said he wanted to be in New York. He didn't specify which team. No, he did actually. He said he wanted to be with the Knicks. But like, yeah, like you never know, like they need to go ahead and get somebody that could really be like I said, if you throw a package for Lauri and you want to play Lauri and MPJ together, you're showing right there your identity is stretch bigs, right? Like your identity is 2 guys who are 7'4", 6'10" plus, who can both shoot the ball like crazy. Maybe you're lacking defense, but then you're hoping, and I think that every team is going into it going, okay, we need to outscore them now because these guys can score, right? And like if you're able to keep some of those really good guys on the team by doing that, like a good role player, like a guy like Zaire Williams, who like I said, I'm very high on, and you're able to keep Gilman and trade 2 or 3 of the guys who you just drafted. And listen, if they turn into something, they turn into something, but you also can't give up the fact that you're getting a guy like Lauri who's a monster. You know what you're getting. So maybe you move a guy maybe you move some of those rookies and you build, you really, get your identity by bringing a guy in, right? Whatever the case may be. If you want to go ahead, trade for a legitimate point guard, somebody who's just going to move the ball for you, go ahead and do so. But then that's going to be your identity. I think whatever move they make is going to go into, okay, here's the Nets, this is what they are. And maybe it's just going back to the rebuild, continuing the rebuild and trading, just about everybody for draft picks. And then there you go. That's your identity, a rebuilding team going into a full rebuild. So
yeah, I mean, I'll be keeping an eye out on the Nets this year. Hopefully, you guys don't get shafted in the lottery like Utah did last year, and the Pistons did in your Spaz. Like, I think AJ DeBanza would be great for you guys. I think Peterson would be good for you guys. This is a very top-heavy draft, I would say. There's a lot of talent in this draft, and hopefully, you guys get a player that you can build around and start having an identity again, where it's just not shot chucking, and you're actually closing out games and getting more than like 20 wins a season. Because I feel like every 5 years, it's like, oh, Brooklyn's rebuilding again. Like, let's just kind of run it back and do it again.
Yeah. Like you see all these memes, and it's like, oh, if you weren't with us during the rebuild, don't be with us during the rebuild. It's just like, okay, that's all you're seeing. So. Listen, I'm hoping that there's something that they could do to go ahead and really build, but who really knows? I'm nervous that they're going to try to trade for somebody who looks good on paper, and then you get him, and it's just like, okay, I don't want to see them trade for a guy like Paul George or Joel Embiid. Those guys' careers are close to over. Like, I don't want to see that. If you're going to go ahead and get somebody, like I said, Lauri Markkanen's the main guy. If Zion's always hurt, but if that's a name that's in there, or if a guy like Trey Murphy's in there, those kinds of guys I would like. I would love a Trey Murphy with MPJ, 2 guys who could extend the floor. And I know he's having a really bad season, so they might be more open to trading him. And maybe you send, Cam Thomas over there, which who knows if they do that, just because Jordan Poole and Cam Thomas wouldn't work together at all. But, he's like I said, Trey Murphy's having a really bad year. So maybe you're able to throw a package together and be like, listen, he's having a terrible year. We'll give you 2 or 3 draft picks, whether they be like 1 first or 2 firsts and a second, and we'll give you, whatever player it may be. To make the contracts work. It could work out. I just don't want to see them go ahead and trade for a vet who is going to be over but looks good on paper. Like I don't want them to make a fantasy football move where you're looking at a guy like on paper who looks great and then you get him and he stinks. So yeah, that's the one thing I hope that they stay away from. But like I said, their management has been so who knows if they do stay away from that.
Who knows, man? I don't think you guys are gonna make a bonehead trade with all the draft capital and like all the players you drafted. I think it'll be very calculated. I think it'll be thought out. I don't think it's just gonna be on a whim saying, hey, like let's go trade like 3-4 first for like Zion because he's gonna be out. Like he's already it's November and he's already gonna be out for 7 to 10 days. But I do appreciate you making the time coming on the podcast. It was a lot of fun, talking about the Nets, seeing where they're at and expectations. Sorry, Noah Clowney, that we clowned on you. No pun intended there. But I want to give you the floor to plug and promote where people can find your work over at Bleav In Nets and anything else you want to plug right now.
Yeah, 100%. If you guys want to go check out Bleav In Nets, you can find it on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, as well as the Bleav In website. And also, if you guys are Nuggets fans or into the Nuggets community at all, if you go ahead and check out Nuggets Today on YouTube by FanArch, another channel I got over there. So my X or Twitter handle is @1DenHost, all one word. Was a Denver Nuggets host originally, and I sort of spread out to being the Nets and Nuggets host. So if you guys want to go ahead and check those out, I really appreciate it. But I appreciate the time for being here and being able to join you and talk how exciting the Brooklyn Nets have been this year and a good matchup that should be against the Pistons.
I appreciate it. We'll put all the all the podcasts and the link below for you guys that are watching right now. You can go follow Thomas, follow his work. Maybe catch one of his podcasts. And I know Pistons fans are just sick individuals. They'll probably catch one of your podcasts because I remember I'll do a podcast during like the 28-game losing streak. I crashed out every game.
Keep the hate away. I have to watch Nets games for a living. Please just keep the hate away, okay?
I don't think they'll be too bad, but you never know. I can't speak for all of my subscribers. Some of them are absolutely great people, but there are some trolls out there that might give you a little bit of a hard time.
Listen, there's no trash talk I haven't heard already.
Well, we'll catch you guys later for the Brooklyn Nets versus the Detroit Pistons post-game show immediately after the game.